Thank you, Jello. Go ahead and roll the stream. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. I'm Kevin Koim. We're doing the today's Venture Outfitter Weekly from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Real excited to be sharing with you. I want to go ahead and let me bring up the slides so you guys can see along. And so I'm on a really tiny screen today because we're in the field, and I'm real excited about this today. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I've already learned here in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. We have some very special guests. If you're not following along on the LinkedIn stream, please post things there, as well as if for those of you that are already in our circle community, make sure that you can do shout outs there as well on the threads that are happening there. But welcome to the Venture Outfitter. And so part of what we're here to do is support each other as we build out our ventures working across the world. We've already recognized, like earlier, just a few minutes ago when we were in the green room posting here, I think there were at least 5 different countries represented: Philippines, Uzbekistan, Texas, Brazil, let's see, and Russia, I counted. But really quick, just happy to have you all here. I want to thank our studio provider, DuoWorks, all the way back in Austin, Texas. Thank you to Linda and her team. If you're looking for a point of presence in Austin, whether that's just the mailbox because you have a foreign company that needs a point of presence in the United States, all the way up to closed door office, DuoWorks provides that. And Linda and her team are really great about taking care of unique needs. For those of you that are in the Austin area, in about 3 weeks, we're going to have a reunion in Austin for all the Venture Forth grads from way back when. For those of you who don't know, we've had 45 different cohorts of Venture Forth over the years. Tech Ranch is coming up on its 20th anniversary. There'll be some special stuff happening about that. That's next year. So Linda and I are making some plans around that. But thank you to Linda for actually making it possible to, her organization sponsors our studio back in Austin. So we're here in Tashkent. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening here. But before we get into that, I want to mention that next week I will be back in Austin, and I'm going to talk about what I learned from the Silk Road. If you haven't heard of the Silk, or a lot of people seem like they've heard of the Silk Road before, but they don't know what it really represents in the world. One of the things that happened in Uzbekistan years and years and years ago is this was a meeting of lots of different cultures. In fact, I've been told that there's like 130 different cultures, unique cultures that you can actually find in Uzbekistan. There's some interesting stories that I'll be telling that are both historic as well as recent. We might hear some of them today because today is going to be more of a community conversation about what's happening, but this will be next week. So I always like to do a quote. Today's quote's about artists, but I actually think that entrepreneurs are a type of artist. So let me read this to you. Who but the artist has the power to open man up, to set free the imagination? The others, the priest, the teacher, the saint, the statesman, the warrior, hold us into the path of history. They keep us chained to the rock that the vultures may eat out our hearts. It is the artist, also the entrepreneur, who has the courage to go up against the crowd. He is the unrecognized hero of our time and of all time. Henry Miller in the book Stand Still Like the Hummingbird. One of the things that whether talking to entrepreneurs here in Uzbekistan or back in Austin, so many of us actually have to recognize this. When us as entrepreneurs talk to our friends that are just in business, the average business person is not as much of an artist as what you have to be as an entrepreneur. And so I just want to stop and honor you guys just for a second to say, hey, recognize that you're leaving old history behind. We appreciate and we honor our history, but in many ways, what we're doing is leaving that behind to build the new thing. We still want to honor our history, but not have it keep us chained to the rock, as they say in this quote. So one of the things I've been thinking about as I reflect on that statement and learn something about Uzbekistan, is I started thinking of, I want to come up with this framework, and I'm sure that I'll get feedback from each one of you, and I hope to get feedback from as many of you as possible about what is it that we're building in our community. And there's this thing that I started thinking, and I wrote it on one of my social media posts, and then I was like, okay, well, that's a start, but it's not enough yet. So I've got this idea that commerce is what engages us. We have this opportunity to do business between Texas and Uzbekistan, or Brazil and Mexico, or like, as an example, a couple of weeks ago, I told you about a big deal that's happening between Argentina and Mexico, the United States and Germany, right? Something that I helped a group of people pull together. Commerce is what is engaging us. But then, we've got this idea that innovation helps us solve problems together. But then there is like this experience I just had on the flight over from between Istanbul to Tashkent. And it was quite profound. This was my first experience of experiencing Uzbekistan, we'll say inside of Uzbekistan. We had our 4 fellows that we've heard from, and we're going to hear briefly from 2 of them tonight, or I should say today, depending on what part of the world you're in. We're going to hear from 2 of them about the uniqueness of this culture and stuff like that. But I got to have this very unique experience. And before I give you the third statement in this group of statements that want to emerge, and I'd like to get your feedback about this, because I really think that there's something that we're discovering together and building community around the world. This community of entrepreneurs that are committed to making the world a better world, and we're working together to solve problems together. Got lots of different examples about that. But the thing that I had this experience is, so there's this lady that was sitting right next to me on that final flight. She was dressed as a Muslim pilgrim who had just come from the Hajj. The Hajj is when Muslims during some course of their life go to Mecca to as part of their devotional process to their religion. And I could tell just based on the way she was dressed that that's who she was. And there was a whole group of pilgrims on the flight. There was more than 40 pilgrims on the flight. And it's quite interesting to see the conversations they're having. But here I am sitting next to this grandmother, and I don't speak any Russian. I don't speak any Uzbek. She doesn't speak more than maybe 5 words of English. But part of the thing that was interesting was to experience the care that she had in the communication that we did have. I figured out based on her hand gestures and explaining stuff that she was a grandmother, that she had a son that had children, that there was these interesting things. But the most touching thing that I want to take just a second more to talk about was when we took off, she prayed for the plane. She prayed for everyone. When we had our meals, she prayed for our meals. When we were landing, she prayed for our meals. And when we were landing, she was praying for the landing. And I was touched by the type of care. In fact, one of the things that you'll see on how Uzbek meet and greet each other is it's always covering their hearts, expressing this deep gratitude. And so the thing that I actually started suspecting, and I don't think I've written this right yet, is spirit is what connects us. Even though I am a Christian, she's a Muslim, there's this care that was being expressed in the simplest of ways. And it was expressed in the simplest of ways because we didn't have language. The best thing I had was an application that was only one way. I could take English and turn it into Russian and then see how she responded back and forth. And, it was a 4-hour flight. So we had a little bit of time to do this. But the thing that I actually want to remind the community that I think is unique to our community, it started something I experienced in Austin, but it then had this profound experience on this 4-hour flight, especially as these pilgrims returned home, is that there's this deeper concern and care that as we're building the community that we have for each other. It's one of the most beautiful things that I've had experience-wise in Uzbekistan. And initially, I thought it was going to be unique to just them 2, and also our 4 fellows that we had gotten to host in Austin. But it's pervasive across this culture in this country. It's pervasive. There's not one person and probably the 150 people that I've interacted with now, part of them being in the experience of who's hosting us and the people around, or even the people at the front desk in the hotel. Everyone has this heart-centered culture that's just absolutely beautiful. So at some point, we'll probably have a statement about what this community is actually becoming. But here's the start. So give me feedback about what you think. You can do it later. You can do it during our community conversation. The main thing is I want to open it up to the community to start really thinking about what that is. And thank you to the people of Uzbekistan, especially our fellows, starting with our fellows, and then the people that they've put around us during this trip. Because it's really clear. This is one of the things that I think is very true. The heart-centered culture that I think, is quite profound about how people hold themselves from that standpoint. So thank you for that. I'll talk more about this next week when I get to do the debrief of what I learned in the Silk Road. But this was so profound that, even though I've only been here for a couple of days now, I think it was important to start here. So we'll talk about that more, like I said, next week. And then as we learn more, I want to make sure that we continue to bring that insight from all the different places. It's not just about Austin, Texas, or Silicon Valley, or some other part of the world. It's about discovering this together, because through that, we can actually really figure out what's possible with our network and with our community. So with that, back in Tashkent, we're going to hear from a handful of entrepreneurs. I'm first going to ask two of our fellows that were in fellowship program back in Austin. One of them that was in May, one of them was just recently in the last month, that are going to tell us just a little bit about some of the people we're going to hear from. But part of what we'll do is we will go into more depth and hear from a handful of the entrepreneurs. First off, there's been a few things, like there's been a lot of business meetings and stuff like that. Yes, this is me in a suit. Yes, you saw me in a suit earlier today with a very fine tie. And lots of different interactions. This is Kabir and myself on the left in a meeting at the IT park, and then breakfast. Some of the scenery that you could see from one of the buildings across, there's like this whole set of new buildings that are being set up for doing things there in the IT park. Then we had a wonderful dinner among the fellows last night in a place called the Magic City that you see pictures of on the right, and then other parts of the area on the left and stuff like that, and the beautiful dinner that we had last night. But part of what we're going to do, though, is now hear from some of the entrepreneurs. I'm going to start by asking Sanjar to tell us just a tiny bit about, I'm not going to put him on the spot. I promised him I wasn't going to put him on the spot too long. But Sanjar, since you're responsible, you and Kabir are responsible for the first portion of the trip of why I'm here now, I'd like to give you some space to say, hey, what do you think? Like, how's the trip going? What are you reflecting on what's happening thus far? Anything else you'd like to say? Open book.
Thank you very much. Hello to everyone. Several weeks I tried to attend this conference, the meeting, and I couldn't make it. And I'm happy to see all of you. And I say salam alaikum to Kevin one more time. Good to see you. Yeah, salam alaikum. And he spent 24 hours flying, and I was wondering, does he have a good mood or health, because he was so excited when he came to Tashkent after a long flight. And we gave to him 4 hours of relaxing, enjoying time. And he says that after closing the door, yeah, he fell asleep. Boom. Yeah. And we had a very good dinner. We spent a very wonderful time with our friends, Sevara, Maktuna, Mr. Kabir. About Uzbekistan, I love my country. I love friends, and I have been several times in USA, in UK, and by this moment, always I want to go to my country, to back home. I don't know, maybe as Kevin says that this is spiritual, you know. Um, this is my place. This is my people. I love this place. I want to live here the whole life. Even I traveled somewhere, uh, I uh, I try to find peace of Uzbekistan and abroad. You know, the food, people. I try to search, looking for this. Um, in Uzbekistan, entrepreneurs are really positive people, and they do business only in trust and the belief. They don't make any contract between themselves as other people in abroad. They do this. They just talk with each other in a seconds, in minutes. They say rahmat, like thanks, and they do their job. They start their cooperation. They trust their words. Uh, Myself, I'm entrepreneur from 2019. Um, I do consulting in the education abroad, and also I'm an import export manager, like agent. I'm good at sales, at marketing, and if there is someone who wants to buy from Uzbekistan or sell to Uzbekistan any good, I will be open for cooperation. Um, yeah, good to see you guys. Hello, Omar. Good to see you again. I can tell that officially, I can tell that Kevin will be living here in Uzbekistan. He will stay here. He will not go to Texas.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
thank you.
I have a few people at home that are expecting me home sometime soon, but yeah, very much excited.
You
to
have
be
my
here
blessing,
with-
Sanjar, to keep him there.
Thank
That's
you.
funny. Here
No,
comes
actually,
the
we'll do a trade-off. He'll come back and I'll come, and we'll just keep going back and forth.
Great.
yeah, I know David Nichols says in the chat, Kevin's supposed to move to Prague. I love all the cities. We're just going to have to buy an airline and all that sort of stuff. So Sanjar, thank you for being the, one of the things that was stood out when he originally came, when Sanjar and Kabir came to the tech ranch in Austin, is part of the whole process, is just the true hospitality, the true heart of gold that they both have. So thank you for that. Kabir, when he was driving me back to the hotel earlier today, was saying, it's like, well, actually, I said something to him. I said, like, yeah, I already feel like I'm at home. The culture is so hospitable that even though there's a language barrier, as I mentioned on the flight, I thought this was just a unique experience on the flight. I was just like, wow, this is cool. I got lucky that I sat next to someone who was so nice. But no, it's the culture of the country I'm convinced of. It's at least the culture of the city. It's like, I'm like, okay, I at least recognize it's the culture of the city. So thank you for sharing that with us, Sanjar. What we'll do is we're going to hop around a little bit, but in a little bit, when we do the community part of the conversation, I want you to be as involved in the conversation as possible, just because you really do have something special. And even between you and Kabir, you were the first person that really demonstrated that when we were in Austin, Texas. And for those of you all that don't know what this thing about Austin, Texas, one of the reasons that I think Austin has been so successful, and is reflecting on with a number of the university students that I presented to today, I met with a lot of VIPs, people that own different corporations. I met with the Venture Capital Association. Also met with one of the gentlemen that runs the IT park as well, like several different things. But in a conversation with some of the university students, we really started getting down to these brass tacks about interacting. I'll talk about that a little bit more about that in a little bit. Let me now invite Savara, one of our other fellows. She was in the second fellowship team that came to Austin and that worked with us. She's about to introduce, or she's got a handful of companies. Savara, tell us what is your business? I mean, because you have several different businesses. Tell us about them really quick. And then anything you'd like to say about the people that you're going to have speak that talk about their businesses right beforehand. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for introduction and so for such a warm acceptance of Uzbekistan, and we're really happy to know it. Actually, I used to work for the British Council, and we used to bring a lot of UK experts to Uzbekistan, and it was ended up like, once you came to Uzbekistan, you'll always come to Uzbekistan back and forth. We will see how things go with you. But definitely, I don't know, but this land has this kind of pattern. So we will see. So my name is Savara. It's not my first time participating in this podcast, and then I've been just 2 weeks ago in Austin. I even didn't know that we can have such an interesting conversation, and it's a big city and small world. Like, you are here, we are there, and we had a kind of a very interesting connection being in the USA with all over the world. Actually, we had a conversation with Japan, we had a conversation with Armenia, and it's how the world is very connected now. So I'm so happy being part of this movement. So my business is we have several IT companies. So one of them, outsourcing IT company, we're working on artificial intelligence project, and we're working on e-commerce. And here I would like to introduce my colleagues and my friends, I would say, Murat and Iskandar, who are drivers of this businesses, and they're doing internationally a very kind of outstanding jobs, I think, because, for example, Murat, he is Uzbek. He lived in Uzbekistan, but then he studied in Czech Republic, and he lived in Czech Republic for, I don't know, 10 years and more, and he founded business there on IT infrastructure, so it's more hardware. And then when he was doing his PhD on water management, he wanted to do something that can be beneficial for his country, and on data analysis something, and he approached Ministry of Water Management that he's doing PhD on IT solutions for water management. Can we have some data, and how can we collaborate? He had nice conversation. That he was invited to Uzbekistan by Ministry of Water Management, and then they realized what the potential this guy has, and then they said, okay, come to Uzbekistan, we will organize everything, do your business here, and you'll do the outsourcing stuff here. He started with Ministry of Water Management, but then he moved to different other, not moved, he kind of realized that there are a lot of potentials to help to country in terms of digitalization, having his background in IT and having his background in international IT solutions and innovation.
It sounds like, and that's that story of a lot of Uzbeks that left to other places and then came back. That sounds like I've heard that story. I've heard that story repeated with a number of different people. It sounds like that's part of the way Uzbekistan is almost exploding really fast with all the different activities that are happening right now here. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. Actually, Uzbekistan, as you know now, all these 5 or 6 years, it's opened up more like it's been before, and that's why it's becoming attractive to Uzbeks and to other peoples as well. So one of them is Murat, who who has actually everything in Czech Republic, has big business. He's working with Google, Amazon, and who else? British Telecom, all these companies in Czech Republic, but he left, business is going on. He left and he's challenging himself to open up a company here in Uzbekistan and doing something here. So it will be interesting to know his experience. And Iskandar is another very interesting, and I really admire him, guy who is very passionate about his startup, and the startup is about e-commerce onboarding. We're working together, and Iskandar is actually a financial guy. He used to be a financial advisor, one of the biggest bank in Uzbekistan, private banking systems, and also he did some works in retail and HoReCa. But when he faced some problems, he wanted to decide solve it with a small kind of IT solution. Then he realized that it's not only him, he's kind of facing this problem, and then it became as a whole kind of startup. Then we partnered up, and who the story of e-commerce and onboarding people kind of started, and he is now participating in Google Accelerator in Astana Hub. Only one startup from Uzbekistan been kind of selected to this startup, and we are working also together. And this startup called Avloshop, it was okay, Iskandar, you'll tell more. Otherwise,
let's put him on the spot. Actually, what we can do is Cello, add Iskandar to our video stream, and we'll go ahead and put him on the spot and say, Iskandar, tell us, so what are you working on? I kind of was pushing on you just a little bit earlier about your startup. What's your startup do? Tell us all about it.
So, hi again for everyone. My name is Iskandar Kurbanov, that I'm the CEO of the Avloshop. And what we're doing, we lowering the barriers in the frontier countries to go to the e-commerce market, because we know that how e-commerce can develop the countries, and how it's diversified in the easiest way to country, development. And despite all of this, we see the huge of the opportunity that in frontier countries, average e-commerce penetration is very low. When it is an average 15%, when in developed countries, it's a start from 60 up to 90%. And we started to know that we have something like the problem like chicken egg, that the people that cannot understand how to buy online, but as well as the merchants who also don't know how to, and no idea how to go to the e-commerce market. We started the first of all our startup journey with the B2B marketplaces. It's called the Hop Me Shop, but we faced with a lot of problems, and we decided to focus on solving one the problem to making e-commerce better and possible to the merchants, and with their onboarding properly to e-commerce market, and start to, they grow their GMV and they hold the market. What we are doing now, we started. We prepared this product more than the 9 months, but we launched officially 3 months ago, and we attracted more than 600 merchants already in our platform working, and we make the impact to the development economy. Because one of the best ideas, because one of the best mission and one of the idea is to make it possible for SMEs grow their sales and in making them more money that will help the living the more better in the frontier country for their family. That we can attract and impact that. And this is mission is like a spirit for us to go very fast and go to not only in Uzbekistan, but cover the whole Central Asia countries, maybe go to the mainland countries as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So any request? One of the things that we like to do with the community, is there a request that you'd like to make out to the community? Is there anything that would actually would there be one thing that if this one door was opened, or something that you actually would like to look for in the network that would be of interest to you? Make a request to the network.
Request, it's just maybe only connections, that I understand that this world is not the world for competition, maybe for unity. That when we just connect with each other with the expertise, and we can bring the experts and expertise and the best practice from the, for example, USA companies, that we can just come with expertise to the local market to implement it and adapt to the local market, and they given a new solution, which the coordinately can solve the market problems, and then make it possible also in frontier countries to develop more faster as like in developed countries.
Got it. And so especially you mentioned that target. I really like the way that you stated it. You said frontier countries where e-commerce hasn't taken off like it has in like the United States, but you still want to enable the merchant to actually be able to take advantage of that. That connections into other places like that would be value.
Exactly.
Is that your perfect?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, I know that like one of the people that's on that, if nothing else, it would be interesting for while he's still on, he's about to go to a speaking engagement to replace me since I'm not in Austin this week. But Omar Zaki is our venture partner who focuses on MENA, the Middle East, North Africa area. If behind the scenes in the chat, make sure you all exchange contact information. That would be great. And that's part of the most valuable thing that can happen back and forth. Omar, since you're here, I know that you just have to get into the car pretty soon for that speech. You're on mute, by the way. If there's anything you want to hop in and say real quick, or if there's a question.
No, it's great. Yeah, actually, Sabar and Iskander and I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, or maybe like 3 weeks ago, almost before Sabar left. There's definitely some interesting kind of stuff going on there with like the opportunity for e-commerce and onboarding merchants and supporting that as a kind of target audience. It's an area that I've been very interested in as well with other markets in the Middle East like Egypt, and I know Savara's been thinking about it for markets like Turkey and elsewhere. So we're excited to kind of explore that as a potential one of the project opportunities that we can do this reciprocal program, maybe with Uzbek and the American Business Council. There's some interesting other stuff going on that Savar has been involved in as well that we've been looking at. So yeah, I'm just excited to kind of keep the conversations going and hopefully get us some traction there.
That's beautiful.
And
well, good. I'm glad that you already made that connection. I didn't realize that. Savar, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I mention one very important point that is very kind of touching me in this project is this project helps to women to be empowered. Why? Because e-commerce now, the thing that mostly Iskandar is always kind of smiling, but this is something that's really close to me, because e-commerce is something that helps women to be engaged with the business in a professional way, but also in emerging countries and like MENA, for example, or in other countries like Uzbekistan, not a lot of women are having access to work because of their family conditions and so on. And this is a very hidden potential of economy when women are not working. So you can calculate how economically it's not giving the kind of big potential to the economy. But when they do their contribution to driving their even family business, family budget, so it will make a lot of other issues to be solved, like economical stability, mental health, or family things, social things. So I think this is a very powerful thing in e-commerce, in driving e-commerce in general.
Yeah, I would say it's interesting how there's an underlying impact story that in women's empowerment that's beautiful to see. So that's an excellent point, Savara. Thank you for that.
If I could just make one more small request for the community here, and that's a little bit, side topic, but maybe relevant to folks out there, and you guys might know people looking into this. There's an opportunity with 3D printing additive manufacturing distributor that's looking for folks that are into product design and any sort of opportunities around prototyping with really quality equipment. So if you guys out there know people that are into that and looking for good quality access to that stuff, let me know. And I'd love to also connect them with, the market out there at some point, because there's a lot of expansion opportunities with this business model. And it's just an interesting opportunity I'm trying to help the founder with. So just keep that in mind. Let me know.
That's
I'll
wonderful.
put some information here in the chat.
Well, and the other thing to make sure that everyone's here, by the way, if you're not already in the community sites, and for people that are watching one of the streams, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or otherwise, one of the things to do for entrepreneurs, part of what we want to make sure you have access to is to our community. There's no charge for being involved in the community. Now, there are obviously, since we have to pay for the capabilities and stuff like that, there are opportunities to say, hey, I need the following thing, and then to buy into other levels of what's at the community. But we're trying to keep it as a freemium so that you can take advantage of that. If you get a chance, especially if you're in the studio audience, like in the Zoom audience, you can ask Jello to add you, and he will do that. So that that's a great place to do the follow-on conversations for these type of interactions. So. And thank you, Omar, for replacing me since on today's speech and all that sort of stuff. Tell everyone, Assalamu alaikum from Tashkent on my behalf, and just send my best back to the people there in Austin. All right, how long are you going to be with us before you have to take off?
I've got like another 4 to 5 minutes.
Got it. Well, let's put Murad on the spot and have him share about his business, so Omar, one of our venture partners, can actually hear what you have as well. Murad, join us. And Jello, go ahead and put it. Yeah, there. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
What's your? Yeah, we heard a little bit of the history earlier about you started in the Czech Republic, which actually it's great to have two connections to the Czech Republic represented in our studio audience. But tell us about the business. What's the business do?
Okay, so actually. We are all about digitalization. We started with the digitalization, the economy, in the government sector, in the private sector. Then we realized that there is a lot to do, because the classical work of doing in a paper-based, we're still in a lot of organization we're doing. So now we are slowly working with government agencies and private agencies to digitalize the process, or we can say automation. And now, for example, one of the projects we are working on with Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Health is asking us to make monitoring of the whole the healthcare in terms of the medicine promotion in the country. For example, they say every year 2022 we promote 1 million of such kind of things to there and there, right? So we are making kind of transparent solution that ministry can monitor the whole country on the distribution. So it's logistics, distribution, transportation, everything is there. Another project we are working with, cooperation with one of the UK company called Baikal. We are doing Ministry of Justice, AI project, artificial intelligence. Ministry of Justice, for example, does have the challenge they are getting 5,000 calls a day, like normal calls. And it is almost impossible to solve this problem or solve their questions by human. So we are trying to eliminate their power, their resource power, at least to 20 to 30% by solution. And solution is automation, chatbots, automation, phone calls, the customer service, by applying artificial intelligence. That's machine learning, this law of Uzbekistan, all different conditions, algorithms, etc., etc. Another interesting project we are doing also in AI is, and again, is government organization, the Ministry of Water Resources, the one I started working with. So they have kind of archive, which is staying for 120 years. And all photos, videos were taken in old time, in old machine. And these things is getting actually lost by time. It's losing the value of the physical cassettes. Yeah. So idea is we need to digitalize them and make it apply to artificial intelligence and identify who was in the picture, where it was, what that happened, etc., etc. And we also would like to make visual museum of water resources in the country, that everyone who is coming to the museum, it's a virtual museum, then they can see that some, for example, some water objects, how it was built at the beginning. For example, we have very famous water object, water channel in Fergana Valley, which was built by hand. Yeah, so it is very, the history is there. So we want to make it digitalize that. Also, a lot of projects. We are also working in UK. For example, we are making ERP system for one Harriot. It's a company called Harriot. They make cakes in the whole UK. So we are trying to automate their service, that they will not sell in a normal branch, but they will sell by kind of machines. There's how can I say, without operator, without human, so that they will deliver the cake, and cake will be sold by machine, automatic, like coffee machine. Yeah. So this is, we are working on to automate in UK. And actually, our company looking for digital transformation, or that if we have any possibility to cooperate with companies, with agencies, that we can use some really ready-made systems in Uzbekistan or in Central Asia, we will be very happy, because building from scratch or building from zero, it's too much. We are having such challenges, even million dollars, sometimes government spending, but at the end it is not the solution that they want. Sometimes this is happening by some companies. So that's why we are very open in Uzbekistan as a local company to accept some digital solutions, some applications which can be used in the government or in the private sector, to make
Yeah.
it digital transformation in the local area. So this is which is
Yeah, no,
possible.
that's really interesting, because that one of the things that I always like presenting through the VIA Weekly program, we've had entrepreneurs from Texas, Mexico, Egypt, and Italy work together around a healthcare issue that Omar can actually share a little bit more about what happened there. But part of the thing to remember, a lot of times I use the metaphor of, if you want to take on the whales and the sharks of the world, recognize that startups can act like a school, a piranha, and work with each other. One of the companies might have already developed software and e-government. And as an example, we have a e-government software provider that's sold to the New Zealand government. And that same platform could be repurposed by another company in another part of the world. It's really interesting about how simple that can be and how powerful.
Yeah, I think it's, definitely to Kevin's point, and part of what we continue to market and advertise to our community and the outer parts of our community and network is, there's a solution to almost every problem out there. It's just a matter of connecting it, right, and finding the right kind of alignment between that and those ecosystems, and coordinating that. And I know for a fact right now Kevin is working with a very interesting telemedicine outfit, and company and model out of Hungary that has great opportunities for supporting digital transformation for ministries of health and public and private organizations in markets like Central Asia. We're talking about maybe looking at Egypt as another opportunity for them as well. There's lots of that. So understanding, I guess in another conversation maybe after this, we can kind of dive a little deeper to see kind of where some critical areas of need are, where some maybe lessons learned and previous case studies have happened that look successful, so we can try to limit the like kind of pathway to success, or maximize that pathway to success, and kind of coordinate the right sort of alignment of these sorts of opportunities. But there's a lot out there, and it's part of what Kevin and I are on a mission to do, is really kind of make these connections for everybody and bring these kind of capabilities. So Murad, I'll be happy to meet with you at another time, and we can talk through some more stuff of what you've been up to and what we've seen and what we can try to help collaborate on. Savar and I are also in conversations. We might even be meeting tomorrow, I think, as well, to follow up on some stuff. So let's just keep the discussions going. I mean, the more we kind of keep that conversation going, the more we can get to something, right?
Perfect.
And that's a lot of times I use the language of posting requests. There will be an area on the in the community called #request. And the main thing is, as you recognize an opportunity, like, Murad, if you recognize, hey, if we only had the following thing for the following organization, that's one of the most powerful things that's happening across the network right now. And as we ramp back up to the, since we're using a new piece of software that we're exploring in lieu of what we used to use before COVID, was we had the physical facility, and we'd have, more than 100 entrepreneurs wrapped around a specific idea at times. That could be extremely powerful. In the Tech Ranch community itself, the larger group, that I'm going to go ahead and start inviting the really large group into this new platform. It's more than 6,500 entrepreneurs. And so when you start thinking about the power of that, there's lots of stuff we can do. So David Nichols is also saying in the chat, I would like to connect and hear more, talk about the challenges. He's got an interesting platform as well. Y'all should definitely talk. Let me actually, so we have a few more minutes. I know a lot of what I really wanted to get a lot of that information out there and things like that. What I'm wondering, I know Omar's jumping to the speaking gig that because my trip got shifted, shout out to Marissa for being that works with Mass Challenge. She was really patient with me because I said, hey, there's a screw up between some of the paperwork around me that made me get here to Uzbekistan about a week late. So thank you for taking that on, Omar, and tell Marissa, thank you for her patience about the changes in my schedule. But I'm just wondering, do we have any questions that anyone would like to ask? Since we have a number of our longer term community members in the studio audience, and then I'm going to go back to the LinkedIn as well, because I know that we got a few questions back and forth there. Any questions anyone would like to ask that raise your hand if you can, and I'll do my best to call on you. Everyone knows that I always have something else that I can always ask. And then there's also some time if anyone has a shout out that they want to do before we close up the day. Let me make space for that as well. I see Janet and Denise and anyone else, please let me know. Janet, did you actually want to say something? Go ahead. Nope, you're saying no. Okay, sorry. I didn't know if that was a wave or if that was a question. Okay,
Yeah,
I
well,
was
Kevin,
just waving hello. It's
Yeah.
very interesting though to hear all of this. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Janet, for being here. Thank you, Denise, for being here. Murad, did you have something else that you wanted to say?
Yes, I would like to also say we have also a podcast in Uzbekistan called Avlo, is Avlo podcast, where we usually talk in tech and business. So the point is, if from this community someone would like to announce something in Central Asia or in Uzbekistan, something like that, or they would like to talk something else, so we can invite them even to our podcast. We can have, unfortunately, at this moment, I was not in the country at this time, so I would like to invite you, Kevin, to our podcast. But maybe next time, definitely you may come. So I mean, whoever would like to have to speak in our podcast, they are welcome. Because the idea is we would like to bring international experience to the Uzbek community as well. Yeah, this is also our mission.
Got it. I would be honored to get a chance to join you one of the times. As soon as you say go, I'm definitely available. Cool.
Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, I know that we have a number of different Rod, it still looks like you raised your hand. Something else you wanted to say?
No, I just want to make it down. It's not working. I just want to
That's
rise
funny.
down.
No worries. Yeah, I know that's
Okay.
one of the things. It's like Zoom always changes out everything. I know that we're coming right to the end of the time and stuff like that, too. And I want to make sure that a lot of times, especially tonight, since I am about to go pass out again, because it's been a very productive trip. After 24 hours on flights as well, they're definitely And I've never quite experienced jet lag like I have this time. So, I think it's just because the number of hours and stuff like that. But thank you for everyone for being here today. Thank you to Senjar and also Savara for making this week possible, as well as to our other two fellows, Maftuna and Kabir. And we'll get a chance to, I'm actually at Maftuna's co-working place. This is where we're doing a studio here. It's called Impact with an extra T, Impact, and then one more T at the very end. So I will be bouncing around a little bit here, and then we'll be speaking several different times. Actually, there's so many different times that I'm speaking here. They're running me crazy here. Seven meetings a day or more, but totally enjoying it. And so, although I will go home back to my hotel tonight, and I'm going to crash hard. So if anyone needs anything from me back in Austin, Texas, you'll have to move quick. Cool. Well, anyone else that had anything wanted to say? Obviously, I like to have these community conversations. And since I'm on a very, very small screen, I am doing my very best to bring up my next slide. And it's not necessarily making it easy on me for that. So what we'll do is I am going to open up the screen again. At some point, we'll probably be getting away from Zoom. Always open to y'all's feedback on what you like out there and stuff like that, just because Zoom has its limitations on just the amount of things that we can possibly do. If you're interested in joining our email list or our mentor list or our country manager list, or very soon we're going to have a pathway directly into the community on this page. It's not there yet, but we will eventually, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to put the pathway into the community on this page as well. But this one page has a number of links on it to get into the email list or the mentor list or country managers. If you want access to our programs, make sure as well that you let us know by going to this page. There's also a contact us form where we actually ask you a lot more details about your venture. If especially you're looking at US market entry or you want to take advantage of one of our programs, make sure that you put yourself on our radar. A lot of times people just email me, but I'm now getting so much mail that I just ask, go here, because it's the fastest way to get, instead of getting caught up in my mailbox, which many of you have done in the past, and I apologize that I haven't been able to process it. We're starting to really streamline the pathway through TechRanch, especially now that we're back from COVID and really ramping the business back up. And we would like to get you involved in building your businesses and working with us around the world. But with that, I will go ahead and go to my last slide and say, it's always an honor to be a part of a community of entrepreneurs that are driven by vision and values. Let's do our very best to go change the world for the better together. With that, know that I'll be back in Texas by Thursday. For those of you all that are waiting on something from me, I'm actually going to be in and out the week after, and then back to a normal schedule by November 1st. But we will continue to do the VO weeklies. There's probably going to be one VO weekly, and the last week of October that I'm going to have someone else stand in and replace me, just because I'm going to be participating in another event off-site in a place that doesn't have internet. So coming soon, a lot of different things are happening. Let us know what's needed in your part of the world and anything else, and let us go change the world for the better together. With that, we'll sign out from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Y'all have a great day, great evening, great morning, wherever part of the world you're in.